this 200 to 600 millimeter lens is awesome, but there's a couple of things that you should know. I've written down 8 things. 8 things that you should know. Monique here. Steve's right over there. Hi, Steve. While we were out here this morning waiting for Osprey, I thought I would just give you a couple of pointers on these lenses that we're always carrying around. You probably saw our other video talking about the camera gear and the 2 different cameras that we use. If not, go take a look at that. But we really didn't say anything about these giant lenses we keep carrying around. We have a lot of other lenses, but if we're out doing wildlife like today with the Osprey, we always bring the Sony 200 to 600 millimeter lens. It's a f5.6 to 6.3, but I'm almost always at 600, so you're pretty much at 6.3. It is really heavy. I just looked it up. It's 4.65 pounds. That is almost an entire bag of sugar. So go pick up a bag of sugar and hold it up to your head for a while. So 4.65 pounds is heavy. So my first piece of advice is to only have your mounts on the lens. So there's a little lens foot here. If you have a tripod mount or like a spider holster mount or Arca Swiss plate, anything like that, if you're using this lens, do not put it on the camera body. That is way too much weight for your body to hold right here at the collar. So always put it on the foot here. Now, mine just got loose and I had to tighten that screw there. What are these called? Allen? Yeah, so this Allen thing here. So I have some Allen wrenches in my camera bag at all times because I have one of these on my other camera too. Generally, I'm not gonna take this giant heavy lens and keep it on my spider holster down here, because it's just too heavy to walk around that long. But we're not on a very long trail. So instead of just carrying this along my shoulder, it's kind of nice to have it on my hip belt. Here's a bonus tip. The spider holster, this one in particular, has that Arca Swiss type plate. Now on Steve's camera, he just has a regular tripod plate on there, which is, he's got it on that right now. I think you could see him just off a frame. Let me move this. There we go. So Steve's got his on the tripod, but again, it's mounted on the foot. If you're not using it on a tripod, you need to like brace everything against your body, even more than you'd think. Really, really learn how to do this. And you're gonna have back problems. You might have back problems. So do the photographer stance. What's the photographer stance? Can you do it? And like this, your feet apart. Like, you don't do that?
Find the right level.
Oh, he bends at the knees. He's smart. You could also like brace yourself by putting your feet apart and doing that, and then like that. So it's super heavy, okay? Is what I'm trying to tell you. Practice holding it. Number 3, it's also when you're zoomed into 600 millimeters and you're trying to pick a little bird out of the sky, it's pretty difficult. I didn't do any bird photography for like 2 weeks, and I tried yesterday and it was really hard all over again. I had to learn how to bring the camera up and get it on the bird and the focus point on them fast. So my tip here is to try with binoculars. We have little binoculars that we have in the car and at home. It's about the same focal length actually. And so if you can spot them with binoculars, you'll do a much better job with this lens. My sister always says, I don't binocular. So I make her just, when she's visiting, here's the binoculars, keep trying. And you know, by the end of her visit, she knows how to use them. It's going to be hard at first. Don't expect to just know how to do it, okay? Give yourself some grace, but it is very hard to hold this heavy thing and get that bird in frame. So practice, practice, practice. Ooh, number 4, there's a bunch of buttons on the lens. Now, I'm not gonna go into all that right now. We're gonna record a video with Steve doing a deep dive into all the buttons, but there are a lot on here. So check them out. The one you're probably gonna use the most is autofocus to manual. If you have a time where maybe you're doing some landscape, you want to switch it to manual, it's just right here on the lens. And the other one we use a lot is the steady shot on and off. So when it's on a tripod, we turn steady shot off. And when we're hand holding it, we have steady shot on. So it has steady shot in the lens. There's differing opinions on that, whether you still have to take steady shot off on the tripod, but we just do it anyway. Coming out here doing shooting where you're going to take it off the tripod and photograph a bird really quick, you just have to remember to switch that button. It's nice to have that there instead of in the software of your camera. It's just boop right there. And again, we'll do an in-depth video on that. Another tip is that you're going to need high shutter speeds. So if you're hand holding and you've got a bird flying, be prepared to have at least like 1,000th of a second. And we've experimented with this. Unless you want a blurry photo, you're gonna need to have high shutter speeds. So get in the habit of having higher shutter speeds than you think you might need, especially if you're going from landscape or portraiture into wildlife and birds specifically because they're so fast. So get used to using high shutter speeds. And number 6, to go along with that, you're gonna need bright conditions, because if you need a high shutter speed and you need f6.3, you're going to need a little bit of a brighter day. So you're going to be disappointed with this lens if you're going to try to photograph just after sunset, dusk, any nighttime critters. So like owls at night with this long lens, it's going to be hard to do. So keep that in mind. If you're zoomed into 600, you're going to have that 6.3 aperture. So you're going to need a little bit brighter day. Okay, number 7 is you're going to need a big camera bag. And honestly, we haven't found one. We just have them like this. And they just sit in our living room because we can look at our back door and see birds. And we just keep them in our living room like that. And we just always have this big lens hood on. This part here is the lens hood. This bag that I just got, it's probably big enough, but I have to take everything out of it to put the camera and lens in there. So make sure you have the lens cap and the camera of the lens, both caps, the end cap, because if you want to take it off your camera and store it in your bag, you're going to have all those on. I don't know where those are for me right now, because we literally never put the camera lens cap on because we just have it like this. Any osprey yet? Okay. Oh, and number 8 with this lens is it's actually not as expensive as you might think. Now, when we first bought the first one was what, 2 years ago? Yep. And I just looked it up just now to look up some stats, and it's come down a lot. It's actually cheaper than the 70-200 2.8 lens that I use in my studio by a lot. So it's much more affordable than you think. And so we'll put a link down in the description that you could go check it out and look at all the stats yourself. We have really loved this lens. It's been worth every penny. That's why we have 2.
We won't share.
Oh, we won't share. Yeah. So for a while we tried I was using my 70-200. He was using vice versa. It wasn't working. I thought it could work. So we love it so much that we have 2. But those are some things you need to know if you're thinking about buying this. I always recommend people rent equipment if they're not sure. So if you have shoulder issues or back issues, any kind of mobility issues, that this camera is going to be too heavy, you need to consider that and borrow one or rent one. We have loved it. We've gotten some amazing bird photos with it. It works on all of our Sony camera bodies. And I don't know, I can't say enough good things about it. So those are our 8 tips for this Sony 200-600 millimeter lens. Be sure to paw the subscribe button and ring the bell, because Steve will be doing an in-depth video about all the buttons on the actual lens and how to use them and when to use them, that kind of thing. So that'll be a little bit down the road. So make sure you're subscribed, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Hit that button.
Hit that button. All right. I'm going to go back to looking for osprey out here. Well, there's been a few that flew over. There might be one in the distance, but it could also be a plane. All right. I'm going to go back to that, and we'll see you later. Say bye.
See ya.
Say bye.